What if a single map proved everything we were taught about history is wrong? A map so strange, so controversial, that for centuries it was hidden away, studied in secret, and quietly dismissed by those who couldn't explain it. Most people have never seen it, and some believe they never should. Because if the map is real, it suggests that someone long before modern explorers knew far more about our world than we're supposed to believe. But the real question is this: who drew it and how did they know? The story begins in 1929, inside a quiet museum archive in Istanbul. Historians were carefully examining a collection of ancient documents. Most of them were routine, fragments of old charts, faded navigational notes, pieces of forgotten maritime history. Then one parchment caught their attention. It looked ordinary at first, just another worn map drawn on gazelle skin, brown with age, edges frayed from centuries of handling. But when researchers unfolded it fully, they realized they were looking at something extraordinary. The map had been drawn in the year 1513, and it was signed by an Ottoman admiral named Piri Reis. At first glance, it showed parts of Europe, Africa, and the Atlantic Ocean, exactly what you expect from an early 16th century map. But then historians noticed something impossible. Along the bottom of the map, there appeared to be the coastline of Antarctica. That alone was shocking. Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820, more than 300 years later. But that wasn't the strangest part. The coastline on the map didn't match the Antarctica we know today. It showed the land without ice. Clear, detailed, and strangely accurate. Almost as if the cartographer had seen the continent before it was buried beneath miles of frozen ice. Researchers double-checked everything. They compared coastlines, measured angles, analyzed distortions, and again, the shapes seemed to match. Some parts even aligned with modern seismic surveys of Antarctica's hidden landmass beneath the ice. Think about that for a second. A map drawn in 1513, appearing to show a continent that wouldn't officially be discovered for centuries, and showing it in a form no human should have been able to see. Naturally, historians wanted answers, but the deeper they looked, the stranger the story became. Because Piri Reis didn't claim the map was his own creation. In fact, he left a note directly on the map explaining where his information came from. According to his writings, he had copied the data from much older maps, some from Arab navigators, some from Portuguese explorers, and some, he claimed, were far older, ancient sources that dated back to the time of Alexander the Great, maps that, according to him, had been passed down and copied for centuries. But that raises a disturbing possibility. If Piri Reis was simply copying older charts, then the real knowledge behind this map might be thousands of years old. And that's where things became controversial. Because if ancient civilizations possessed accurate global maps, it would completely challenge what we believe about early history. How could ancient cultures map distant continents without modern ships? How could they measure coastlines with such precision? And how could they chart lands no one supposedly knew existed? Some researchers believe the answer lies in lost civilizations, advanced cultures that may have existed long before recorded history. Civilizations capable of navigation, astronomy, and cartography far beyond what we currently credit them with. Others propose a different theory, that secret explorers reached distant lands centuries before the official discoveries. Long before Columbus ever crossed the Atlantic, long before European empires began charting the globe, perhaps the knowledge existed, but it was kept hidden. There's also a more unsettling idea, that ancient cartographers may have inherited their knowledge from an even older source, a forgotten culture erased by time, a civilization destroyed by natural disasters, wars, or climate change, leaving behind only fragments of its knowledge. Fragments like this mysterious map. But here's where the story becomes even more unsettling. Because after the Piri Reis map was rediscovered, it quickly became controversial. Some historians dismissed it as coincidence. Others claimed the shapes were misinterpreted. But a small group of researchers insisted the details were too precise to ignore. And strangely, the map was rarely discussed outside academic circles. No major headlines. No widespread public debate. Just quiet research and unanswered questions. Even today, historians still argue about what the map truly represents. Was it a lucky guess, a misunderstood drawing, or evidence that ancient people knew far more about our planet than we've ever been told? Because if the map really does show Antarctica without ice, it means the original source might be thousands of years old, from a time when the world looked very different. And that possibility leads to one final question. Maybe the real mystery isn't who drew the map. Maybe the real mystery is why knowledge like this disappears. Why some discoveries fade quietly into archives. Why certain artifacts are studied but rarely discussed. Because if one forgotten map can challenge everything we think we know about exploration and history, then imagine how many others might still be out there, locked away in museums, buried in private collections, or waiting to be discovered. And if those maps ever surface, they might reveal something far more unsettling than a hidden continent. They might reveal that history as we know it is only part of the story.